What's up, guys? What's up, group?
Is everyone ready? Let me just pull up the questions here.
They're
All right.
extremely tough. I hope you
How
studied.
y'all doing today? Happy Monday. Today we have Jason Cassidy. He is a marketing expert from San Diego. He runs a team in San Diego. They're voted #1 team in San Diego by, who was that, Jason?
Apparently, Sean King.
Yeah, by Sean King. I thought I saw some posts that you were the #1 team. Well, they're one of the best teams in San Diego. He has viral videos. He's been on Tom Ferry. He's been on The Broke Agent, and he's just a cool guy, and he's really good at chess. So, Jason, to start us off, how did you get started in real estate?
Heck of an intro right there. It's awesome. Well, hey guys, yeah. So I've been in the business 12 years now, and I started actually as a leasing an intern almost. I got on with this downtown condo guy. I helped him do his property management and his leasing. I was working at Wells Fargo as a branch manager. Left that job, got my license, started interning, doing leasing, and then found out that was not profitable enough. And so I started doing sales on the side, and then ultimately moved into sales full time. And then that's it. A couple years in, got an assistant, our first partner, and then now the team's grown up, and we have 6 agents. 2 of them are like part time, so it's really 4 of us. So we're like a small team here in San Diego.
How long have you been doing real estate for?
12 years. Well, 10 years. So the first year and a half or so was like property management, the leasing. So I was licensed, but I wasn't doing real estate. So I'd say about 10 years now.
So how long into real estate did you start working on your team? Like right away, or did you wait a few
No,
years?
like halfway in. Yeah. So about 5 years in. I'd say Kimthi, who's my first hire, who's still with me, she was probably about 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago, and then added a couple more. Yeah, about halfway in, 5 years. So the first 5 years, I was just trying to figure out how to sell houses, right? I was just trying to figure out how to open up lock boxes and market myself and all that jazz. And then I started realizing that there's stuff was slipping through my fingers. So I was like, man, I gotta get some help. And that's where the team started to come in and grow.
So you had quite a bit of success before you started the team, or did the success come after you were building the team?
No, definitely before. I always equated like the first 2 years, you're just trying to figure out stuff, right? Eating top ramen, trying to figure out how to open up lock boxes and all that stuff. And then once you hit about, in my market, it was about 20 to 25 deals a year, you start to, at least I've met other people who can go up to 30 or 40, but for me, it was 20 or 25 deals. That's where I started noticing things slipping through the cracks, right? I either didn't get to an online lead quick enough, or I dropped the ball on a listing something. And so I'm like, man, I need help. Again, there's always the time trade-off. Like I probably could have gotten up to 35 or 40 if I just worked harder, but I obviously enjoyed my free time too and stuff like that. So for me, it was about 25 deals. That number, I hit that 2 years in a row, and I was like, okay, man, I need to add some layers here to this, build this out, because I don't want to host open houses every Saturday, and for the rest of my life. Ultimately, I need some sort of structure and system in place. So that was about halfway point. I was doing somewhere between 20 and 25 deals. Now, again, maybe the first hire for you is like an admin, like a assistant type thing. For me, I had a admin / buyer's agent. I wouldn't necessarily rush to just add a bunch of buyer's agents. I think that's probably a fast track way to lose business, because you end up robbing yourself to pay them. But that was my first hire. And if I could go back, I'd say admin. For someone else who does a lot of online leads, maybe the first hire is going to be an ISA. It could be different for everybody, but for me, it was around 20 to 25 deals. I hired a admin / buyer's agent.
Yeah, a lot of big agents tell me that, who have big teams now. They say don't start off with the buyer's agent, start off with the admin first. And if you have a lot of deals you can't handle, start to kind of like refer them out before hiring on a buyer's agent full time, because then you have 2 mouths to feed, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would almost now, again, everybody's different, right? But almost exclusively suggest that you have almost from the get-go, you're going to need like a transaction coordinator, right? The person to kind of carry through the back end of the paperwork. That's probably the first hire. You shouldn't do that by yourself anyways, just a lot of time. Secondarily, when you get to that breaking point of like where you start to see stuff slipping through the cracks, you need some sort of an admin / assistant. Because then that could, just for using the same numbers, I think that could have carried me from like 25 to 35 or something. Just that hire alone will get you the next little bit. And then from that point, whether it be an ISA or an actual full-time buyer's agent, then you can start to look at that hire. But I think the first hire should be admin help.
Yeah, a lot of people I notice are scared to take that next step to hire an admin or an ISA because they're not busy enough and it's the extra expense. But I've noticed since I hired my first virtual assistant last year, I've had way more free time to get more leads myself, right? Like I've noticed it's actually helped me make more money, if anything.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people are like kind of diving into that side, doing a virtual assistant to kind of piecemeal in the assistant work. It's that to be honest, it's not a area that I've had a lot of success with the virtual assistants and stuff. I like to have the person like that I can text and be like, hey, do this, versus having the virtual assistant offloaded stuff. That being said, there's people who have built their entire business on virtual assistants. They have 5 of them and they do five separate tasks and they crush. So figure to each their own, but I've never done the virtual assistant. I just went straight into the assistant slash admin. And you can get creative with it too. Like obviously hiring someone on a W-2 for $40,000, $50,000 a year might be overwhelming if you're not quite there yet, but maybe some sort of like mine was a buyer's agent as well. And so I was able to then pay them like X% per deal plus a small salary or something like that. So you can save off the salary if you pay them a little bit per deal. Get creative with it.
So where did you find your assistant? You didn't hire them online, I'm guessing then?
No, they were referred to me. Actually, for anybody in the real EXP world, they were referred to me by Kenny Fast. So Kenny is a friend of mine. I had met him years and years ago, and then his lender's little sister was moving from the Bay Area down to San Diego, and he told her, he's like, hey, that you got to get on this guy's team, and so he referred me my first team member, who ended up being my assistant slash team member.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, Kristen?
She said
nothing.
amazing.
I just said amazing.
Oh, I heard your voice. Okay. I got excited. Okay, that's awesome, man. Yeah, because the biggest thing I get people ask me all the time is like when they're hiring like an ISA or everything, like where should they go for that, right? Like there's a million of these online freaking forums you can do. Like I remember Byron Lazone was always telling us he hires like 5 of them online. So like where can you get started if you want to get your first one like part-time?
You talking about like assistants?
Yeah, like those like
Yeah.
those online, you can get like the online ones from India and stuff. I don't know, there's certain
Yeah,
websites
I
you
don't-
can get to.
assistant.ly I think is a popular one that Sharon, who's the president of our company now, uses, or he's invested in, or something like that, because you can get 10-hour VAs there, which is super helpful because that's only 2 hours a day across 5 days. And so if you need someone to like just do some light admin work, that's an affordable way to get into it without having to commit to a 40-hour. So like when I initially tried the VA thing, I did my outdesk, but it's a 40-hour a week position. And so like, I didn't even have enough work for a 40-hour week VA. So assistant.ly is, they have a 10-hour VA, which could be enticing to a lot of us just to do 2-hour type stuff.
Can someone write that? Kristen, can you write that in the thing? Because I actually want to use that assistant. What is it?
Assistant.ly.
Yeah, assistantly. This is a non-paid, I've never used them. I just know that that's a good one that people use now to find assistantly.
Yeah, because I legit, the best thing I've ever done in my business was hiring an assistant. I know how scared people are to do that. So if you can get one part-time, that'd be amazing.
Bingo.
Even if you can
Yeah,
share an
okay,
assistant
so
with
moving
somebody
on.
else.
Yeah, for
Sorry,
sure.
Kristen?
It's a good idea.
I said, even if you can share an assistant with somebody else. I know there's 3 of us at Real based out of London, and all 3 of us are sharing my assistant right now, which is significantly reduced my costs, and it's keeping
that's cool.
busier. So
Very cool.
How did you get started up with Tom Ferry and everything? Like that's how I first heard about you, was I saw you on all his podcasts and all that. And I know that's like the real estate dream, to be hooked up with Tom Ferry. How did that happen?
I think you've got bad research. I'm not in Tom Ferry.
Yeah, but you're always on his podcast and stuff. Like you're well known, and you know what I mean?
No, so we did, when I worked at an indie brokerage, when I first started, we did Tom Ferry coaching. And so I had Mary Jett was my coach. And so I know the 554s, and I know a lot of the stuff that you're supposed to be doing. And so I still use that in my business today, a lot of the Tom Ferry coaching. But when we switched to Compass, my team at the time, we weren't, I was just starting my team as 5-6 years ago. We didn't do any coaching. We switched to a Compass coach. And so we weren't in the Tom Ferry ecosystem, but I was always around the Tom Ferry ecosystem. And then last year, or the last 2 years ago, when I started kind of doing some additional stuff with Eric, the broke agent, and Byron Lazine, I'm gonna tell him you call him Lazone. I think that's his new nickname.
I meant Lazine, sorry.
They're both very plugged into the Tom Ferry ecosystem, and so a lot of the stuff that we did, like our BAM Bash, like you just talked about, like the refer group and stuff like that, we've had Tom come into the refer group and talk with us, as well as Jason Pantana and stuff like that. And so now for the last 2 years, the parties we've been throwing have been associated with the Tom Ferry events. And so like I've been at Summit. I used to go to Summit all the time too. I think Summit's fantastic, especially for like, you know, individual new agent team members, whatever, because you can go to Summit even if you're not in coaching, you just have to pay for it or whatever. And so we've been at all the Tom Ferry events, but I'm not actually in coaching. So that how I got to the point where you are associating me with Tom Ferry is probably actually through the broke agent stuff and the refer network stuff that you see. Not necessarily like the Tom Ferry coaching.
Oh yeah. No, that's what I just meant. Like, how did you get hooked up with knowing him and being on his podcast and stuff? I didn't mean the actual coaching part.
Yeah. So just through the grapevine, I guess, osmosis of being around the event. And then we've had Tom into the refer network and we've had Jason into the refer network. And so now I've gotten to know them a little bit and a few other coaches, Jeff Bannon and a couple of the other Tom Ferry coaches I've gotten to know.
So how did you get teamed up with the broke agent and all those guys and Byron Lazine? Oh wait, Rebecca has a question. We'll get to that after.
Eric and I met years ago at an Inman Connect, 2016, I think, 2015, 16. It was in New York. And at Inman Connect, they have a karaoke party every year and they do it. And so that's where I initially met him. I don't know if you guys know the origins of Eric Broke Agent, but the Broke Agent used to be 2 people. And so I met Wes, who was the other guy first, and then got to know Eric a little bit. I was out there with Amanda, who's one of my team members, as well as the old owner of the indie brokerage. And Amanda was hanging out with us. And Eric's like, "Who's that?" And he was kind of like asking about her. It was so funny. And it was way before his wife engaged, right? And so that's how we met. Is we were drunk at a karaoke party. I was hanging out with Wes, got to know Eric because of my hot team member happened to be with me. And then the rest is history. So
you were just a wingman.
I was wingmanning. So we ended up becoming friends there. Obviously, just like all of you guys or anybody else, like, you know, send memes every once in a while, like, you know, yada, yada. And then probably about 4 years ago or so, he wrote a book. And it was like, it was a cartoon book. I don't know if you remember this, Commission Impossible. And I did a giveaway on my Instagram. And I was like, I'll give away 10 copies of Commission Impossible. So I bought 10 copies of the book, did a giveaway, and he reshared my giveaway because it was supporting his book and stuff like that. And when he reshared my giveaway, he said something like, "Follow this guy. He's in San Diego." And I had over 1,000 followers in one day because of the giveaway. And so then from there, it was like a match made in heaven. I'm like, I could use this guy. Just kidding. And so
that's actually a genius way though to like connect with people.
Yeah, so you're showing them support, right? They want book sales, or you bought 10 of their books. I did this with Chris Smith and Kendra Hall as well because I really liked their books, and so and both of them gave shout outs because you're supporting them. So of course, like you're doing something for them, they're going to show some love. And then from there, we realized we were both baseball fans. We started golfing, yada yada yada, stuff like that. And so a couple years ago, we were at a Padres game here down in San Diego. And we had the idea for Refer, and so then a couple months later we started that. So now we're officially business partners to the point. Go Padres! That's right. That we're actually like, you know, talking on a weekly basis and whatnot. But that's how it all started.
When's the Jason Cassidy book coming out?
I don't know. I don't know that I'm there
yet. Rebecca, come on in. She has a question for you.
Yeah. What up, Rebecca?
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
Great.
Good. Do you still have a coach now?
No. So when we switched to Reel, from Compass to Reel, I left the Compass coach behind as well. And so we haven't done any coaching since. Now, what will probably happen within the next couple months, now that my team is asking for it, because they hadn't before, they were kind of like happy to not have a coach, I think. And now a couple of them are like, can we do some sort of like accountability? Because we do a weekly team meeting and stuff like that. And so I'll probably actually be a Tom Ferry coaching client here soon, but no, not yet.
And then I met you at Elite Retreat. Oh, I'm sorry, Kristen.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I met you at Elite Retreat. So you were, because I'm thinking about not doing Tom Ferry and maybe going just a different coaching route. Do you just go to the events just for the parties and the social? Because I have my room booked and everything booked, but I don't know that I'll be in coaching still. And I'm like, I should just go to like Zach's party and stuff like that, just for the connections.
Yeah. So the last few years, with the Refer Network that Eric and I started, we host parties at the Tom Ferry events. And so at Summit, we have something called the Bam Bash, it's usually the first night, August, this year it'll be August 22nd. So I go just for that because we host a party there and our Refer members get in like free, it's a total plug, I guess, for Refer. But so I'm there for that. And then at the Elite Retreat, we host a mastermind, or we did last year. We'll do it again this year. But so I just went for that. So we hosted a hotel room mastermind for all of our members who happened to be at Elite as well. And so, yeah, it had nothing to do with the Tom Ferry conference itself. It just happens to be that a lot of our members are also in Tom Ferry. So we host events at those conferences versus putting on like our own random conference, which might be in the future, but not yet.
Why don't
They're
we
a
take a
lot of fun,
second,
too.
since Rich and I are the only ones that are in Refer? Why don't you tell everybody else what Refer is? Maybe we can
Sure. Total shameless plug here, huh? Basically, we decided to start a referral network, Eric and I, and I was still at Compass at the time. And I don't know, you guys it looks like we all have different brokerages here, right? And so like at Compass and even at Real and stuff like that, when you would go to like the back end, there's usually like a referral group within your brokerage. And you tap in like San Diego, say, hey, I need a referral for San Francisco or whatever. And there would be like 70 people tagging their friends. And it's like, you don't even know if you're getting the right person. And you're like, this is just popularity contest. And so we were like, hey, let's start our own referral group where there's only one agent per city. And so like you get exclusivity to your city instead of, so you don't have to sit on Facebook all day waiting for tags or, respond quickly. You can just, if you're the person for San Francisco, if there's a need for San Francisco, the person can just look you up and go find you, as opposed to having to get a Facebook tag from your friends, turn into a popularity contest. It's just a little bit easier. And then we realized on top of that what if you're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you never get a referral? How do we make the program valuable to you too, versus just getting referrals? So now we want, at its core, it's a referral network, but then we also layered on a mastermind component where we bring in guest speakers every month. We do in-person events, we do giveaways, stuff like that to make the group valuable, whether or not you get a referral, although at its core, it's still a referral network. But for example, London, Ontario, I don't know that there's been a lot of leads going up to London, Ontario per se, but you know what I mean? So ultimately we want people in those cities too, to find value in the program.
I did win an iPad though, so it was definitely worth my fee.
You did win an iPad. That's right.
Yeah, but even though Kristen hasn't got a lot of referrals from it, she's made amazing connections from it. Just that alone has been worth it, right?
100%.
I mean, I would say that that's probably even though it is at its base a referral network, the lion's share of the value comes from the other side.
I've been trying to get in, but Matt Leonetti owns that whole area. So
Matt Leonetti does own Toronto, I think.
yeah.
I think you should split Toronto up into a couple.
He's a suburb.
I'll
Sean, he's a
message you.
suburb. So
I'll message you
I'm
after.
out of
Sean.
San Francisco, but I use.
I'm
San
actually
Mateo.
outside of Toronto though. I'm like 25 minutes from Toronto.
You should have said 35. We have a 30-minute radius around each city. So you're inside of his radius, but we could figure something out. I think just message
I'll
me
move 5 minutes east if that helps.
At this point, just give me like Barrie or something up north.
Yeah,
Hey, you
Sean,
stay out of
I use
this, right?
I use San Mateo, but I live in San Francisco because San Francisco was taken. So even though Jason will still say that most people still know me as San Francisco, so it still works out.
Yeah.
And I just sent 2 referrals in the last 2 weeks, one to Sterling and one to Wayne.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hopefully those work out.
Santa Barbara and
You can
Sacramento.
actually not give me any of the referrals and just let me into the parties. I'm cool with that.
The Dallas one is part of Bam Bash, so it's anybody can come to that party, and then the refer members just have free drinks, it's like a wristband for free food, free drinks, and some extra stuff. You know what I mean? But ultimately, like the Bam Bash, you'll be able to attend anyways. That's a broke agent thing, not necessarily a refer thing.
So you recently had a viral video with doing the restaurants, right? In San Diego, those top 3 restaurants. It was actually really well done too.
Thank you. I don't know why you said actually, but Thank you.
No,
Like
but I
your
see a lot
slides.
of those videos and they're very boring. A lot of people do those, they're very boring, right? I actually like you did it in a certain way, it was really well done. Like a lot of people go and they interview the restaurants and they're like a 3-minute video. Like you
Yeah.
just did a quick, easy, like less than 1 minute video and it got you tons of traction. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. And the virality of it is to be debated, I guess. I think we're coming up on 200,000 views, which is great. You know what I mean? It's definitely something that is, it's one of my biggest videos ever. So I think that the key for that one was that it was quick, like you said, bullet pointed, just all we've talked about this type of stuff, I think on a lot of different calls, short form, bullet pointed, under 60 seconds and then get straight to those. So ultimately I said, my 3 favorite restaurants in San Diego are 1, 2, 3, and I described each one just a tad bit. I was like, number 1, Tane Sushi. We have great sushi. They have cold beers. Number 2, you know, and so I kept it quick. But I think what happened, and I actually, funny enough, I posted this on like May 1st, and it wasn't until like May 21st that it like took off. Like it had a good, you know, how everybody knows the first 24 hours, it had a good start. I think I had like 10 or 15,000 views, which is about normal for a really good video of mine. And then 3 weeks later, it took off, and now it's up to like 200,000 views. And so it was what we call, or what Eric calls a delayed explosion, where something happened and it took off later, probably got shared to the right account or something like that. And now ultimately, and that was a good video too, because it elicited a lot of, it's weird to say, but it was controversial because everybody has an opinion on their favorite restaurants in San Diego, or it's, everybody wanted to tell me why my 3 were bullshit or whatever. And so ultimately that was a good one because people care about restaurants, I think, and everybody has an opinion. But it got a ton of saves too. I think that shares and saves are more important than likes and comments, right? And that one, either because people were coming to San Diego, you know, they wanted to save that as like, hey, I'm going out to San Diego. These are 3 good restaurants type thing. So you want your content to be savable and shareable. And so that one was good because it got those metrics versus just likes and comments.
And you made that video for like how much that video cost you to even make? How long did it take you to make that?
I mean, I batch content shoot a lot. So like if you go back to that video and you look at my Instagram, and just during that time, you'll look at the video before it and the video after it. Those were actually all shot on the same day. And so when you batch content, I'll go shoot usually 8 at a time across 2 hours, and just bring different clothes and then change the clothes up. And then, or we're in like a studio, so we can kind of like change the setting a little bit. So like one is in front of the fridge, one is in front of the plants, one is in front of the, you know what I mean? So you have a different background, different clothes, even though you're shooting on the same day. So I'll, you know, I just use the notes pad on my app and I just put video ideas as I go. And then when I'm ready to shoot, my videographer comes usually like once a month and we shoot 8 at a time. And then I get a Dropbox file with all 8 and I just release them, you know, once or twice a week over the course of the month.
Did you
Actually
film
need to
Did you get
reshoot.
any leads from that video?
No. Well, so no. So that's the other thing is there was no call to action per se, right? It was just like, hey, these are my 3 favorite restaurants. What do you think? Comment below. And so now that being said, I've gotten, I don't know, Rebecca just kind of tapped, like, that's a good point. Like, I don't know that I've ever ran leads, except for recently I'm trying out this new thing they're like, I have a buyer videos, but other than that, I don't think I've ever really run videos to try to get leads. I just put out content to brand myself as the old school Gary Vee-ism, right? The digital mayor of San Diego. So I'm just putting out content like that. And so that being said, over the last 3 weeks, I've gotten like 3 referrals that from other agents who probably follow, you know what I mean? So like, that's where I would say probably like over 80% of my business over the last couple of years has come from agent to agent referrals versus like leads clicking on a video that I made.
So yeah, it builds your credibility, if anything. So getting those referrals, that still counts.
Mm-hmm,
Did
totally,
you connect with
100%.
those restaurants at all from this video? Do you know if they saw it? Do you know if they even gave it
At
to
about
you?
50,000 views, and I could have done this better. I wasn't anticipating it being that big of a video. At about 50,000 views, I reached out to all 3 and just said, hey, this video seems to be getting some traction. You know, hopefully it gets you some business. And one of them DM'd me back and said, thanks. The other 2 didn't say anything. And so ultimately, I was just trying to get free food at those restaurants, like hoping that they would be like, oh, cool, thanks. There was multiple people in the comments that were like, oh, cool, paid sponsorship, like yada, yada. There was none of that was included. In fact, one of the sushi place that I picked, which actually is my favorite sushi place, doesn't even have an Instagram. So like, it wasn't done strategically to get stuff out of it. Those were legitimately my three favorite places. Now I assume that you could probably reach out to the places ahead of time and say, hey, do you want to be on my list? But that wasn't the point.
Yeah, because there's a lot of controversy now about whether this is worth doing or not. Like teaming up with the restaurants. Like I do a flyer around my area where I do like the top 6 restaurants in my area, and a couple of them have given me a QR discount code and stuff like that. I haven't pulled any business from that or anything, but I don't know. I just feel like it mixes it up from just handing out stats to my neighbors.
You're just getting into the point now too, where like there's companies reaching out to try to do advertising on Instagram, right? And it's like there's now a fine line of like, do I take that money and start to like advertise on the Instagram, or do I just keep it? You know what I mean? Like, so now I don't know that I would ever take money from a restaurant to try to promote the restaurant. That's really losing sight of what the point is. But there's been a couple like mortgage lenders, like, Glide, the TC company, people like that are like, hey, can you do like in social media influencer marketing? We'll pay you X dollars. And it's like, I don't know if I want to bridge that gap yet. And have like paid placement or anything like that.
No, I don't take money from it. I just have the QR code. If people go in there,
like affiliate, affiliate sponsors or something like that, right? Where they can get a discount or
Yeah, so it helps the restaurant more than me, right? But then hey, I got this from Sean King's thing, right? So hopefully build some credibility. Richard has a question. Come on in, Richard.
What's up? Do you think that like the B2B aspect of that like could be where the potential is, not necessarily getting people watching the video, but having those relations like with the restaurant people, so you become the name of the person, like, oh, you want real estate? Yeah, we know this guy Jason.
Maybe. I still think restaurants, like, I mean, who's going to a restaurant's Instagram to look for a real estate agent? I think that might work with like home inspectors, like the people who are normally, imagine like a BNI group and then now put all their Instagrams together, and then maybe like that could work. If someone, you know what I mean? If you're making these relationships with water restoration companies and all the stuff that normally might be more real estate related, that might be more beneficial. Sure. Same thing as like a networking group would be.
Cool. So you have a pretty engaged Instagram and TikTok following, I've noticed. What's some advice you can give to people who are just starting out there to get going, getting some traction, getting some connections, all the good stuff?
TikTok, I'll put that on the back burner because I'm not an expert by any means. I use it just to get ideas on content more than anything. And then all the content mostly that's on TikTok came from Instagram first. I already had the library of short form content, so I put it over there. And I was able to, a couple of videos there went, got good followings and stuff like that. But there's no comparison. That's like 2% of my marketing compared to 98 being on Instagram. So initially I would say there's 2 paths that you can take as you're starting to build your business. One is becoming the digital mayor for your city. You're putting out content like my 3 favorite restaurants, the 3 hidden gems of X city that people need to know about, right? Things like that. So keeping it short, keeping it listically, all that type of stuff works. And then secondarily now, you can also use the platform to grow your brand, so to speak, amongst other agents. So that's something you could say that Kristen and Sean are doing pretty well because they're putting out agent-centric content just as much as they are putting local-centric content. And so what that does is it obviously appeals you to a broader swath of agents for referrals. So you're kind of becoming not the digital mayor of your city, but like the first name that comes to mind when agents think of your city. And so there's 2 ways to go about that. Now, the issue is a lot of times those don't work together. So like if you put out agent-centric content, your clients might not care. And if you put out client-centric content, your agent in Boise that follows you might not care because you're putting out the 3 hidden gems of San Diego. So a lot of times you're creating friction amongst your followers if you go both routes. So that's where people would encourage you to set up different accounts for each. On YouTube, I think that's probably the play. If you're building your business on YouTube, you probably need separate accounts, one for your local and one for like agent centric if you decide to go that route. On Instagram, I've already sold my soul, I guess, so to speak, like to the point where I have to continue it. But if I was starting from scratch, I would probably pick a route and then go that way and try to keep it focused on that route. Because I always feel like with Instagram and Facebook, people are the people see your content when they already follow you, so to speak. So like ultimately they already know who you are. So like now I can put out agent centric content and people already know me, so they'll watch it. Whereas on like TikTok or YouTube, they're searching for a specific set of content and they'll find it whether or not they follow you. So then it's like, I don't know. So Instagram, I'm okay putting out both sets of content, although I still think that if you're trying to hack the engagement algorithm, you're going to work against yourself if you just put out too much of the separate stuff. Anyway, so I would start, if I was, you said if you're starting out, what I would do, and I did this when I started out too, is I would immediately like spend a lot of time going to the specific hashtags in your location and the locations itself. Like here in San Diego, I'm in Pacific Beach right now. So I would do like location Pacific Beach and literally just start going and like commenting and following and liking people who are on that hashtag every single day, right? So you pick, it's the old Gary V $1.80 strategy where you pick 10 different hashtags and you leave your 2 cents on 9 posts per hashtag. So 90 posts a day, you're leaving your 2 cents, which is just like a comment. And so ultimately you doing that for a couple months, you're going to get, because when you like and then comment on somebody's post, like if someone does that to you, what do? You go look at their profile to see who they are. And then if you have a good profile, they may follow you back. And so ultimately that's how you grow your following in a certain subset, is you just basically you go, you like, you follow, and then you leave your 2 cents on as many posts as you can per day.
And honestly, that works. That was how I got my first 1,000 followers when I started
100%.
my Kristen Sells account, or Kristen Sells has an account.
It's the best hack you can do because you're actually doing it. It's not like spammy. You're actually leaving your 2 cents. Like, and when I say that, you're not saying like nice pic. You're saying like, hey, cool picture of X, right? Cool baseball hat. Like I love the Padres too. I don't know, whatever. Something about that post specifically. You're not actually just saying nice pic and then getting on. Like it's not like a bot doing the stuff for you. You're actually doing it yourself. And so ultimately that's like the real way to do engagement and growth versus like you can do like follows, right, and stuff like that, but it's like it's not as engaging as the way I just said, the $1.80 strategy.
Especially people with smaller accounts that don't get a lot of engagement, it really feels good for them when someone engages something very particular, right. Like, oh man, I love that shirt or whatever you're saying. Like people actually really feel good when you do that and they connect with you and they remember that.
Totally. If you talk, there's people like you can take it further. You can do the video DMs for the people. I think that's quasi, you can get into a creepy status real quick. Creepy. You can get into a creepy status, but like ultimately, like if you're having good conversations with someone and you shoot like a video DM, that's even a better way to like get engagement. I feel like that could be creepy. If you haven't met the person yet, like that could be a little bit weird.
Rebecca sent me a video 2 weeks ago and it's the best thing ever. I watch it 3 times a day to motivate myself.
Yeah, Richard, you just, if you know the person, that's great. It's totally great. Sending a happy birthday or something like that to your client, that's cool. Jesse or Richard just shared that Ed does it. And every time I hear Ed share the strategy, I'm like, okay, this guy's just DMing like MILFs in New Jersey trying to like holler at them. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, but at the same time, like
genius.
It's the right strategy. I think the execution could be better thought out, but.
Tell us more about MILFs from New Jersey. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have to talk about that. Anyway, what was I gonna say? So like, yeah, me and Kristen do a lot of stuff where we do like more entertaining kind of stuff, and a lot of people have asked us, how does this work for you? Why do you guys do that? Where's your call to action? But I get a lot of referrals from other agents. Like I've done about 5 deals from the States just from that kind of referral, right? So, but I try and make it entertaining so that my sphere is also watching it. So what are your thoughts on doing entertaining content versus serious informative content?
I think that if you can do it, I think it's fantastic. I think that, obviously you've got you two, right, Richard, you've got Jared, like you guys obviously know what you're doing when it comes to educate or like entertaining content. I think that to a broader scale, like you mentioned, Matt, you have Dan O'Neill, like these guys have made careers off of entertaining content within the agent industry. And so specifically what comes from that is agent to agent referrals, brand recognition in your city, and then agent to agent referrals. I'm not that entertaining. So I defaulted to the educational content, right? So if you go look at all my content, it's like, what's a TC fee? What are contingencies? And I'm kind of explaining the educational side of things, questions that I run into every day. My clients ask me questions or whatever, and I'll explain them on video in a layman's term kind of, and then it works in a very similar way. My videos do not have the same virality of a good entertaining video though. So ultimately I'm going to have to work harder to get the same spread that you guys might get on an entertaining video, because short forms specifically is like, people want to be entertained and lighthearted and stuff like that, you know? So my, who should pay the TC fee video might get some virality, but your, actual skit out videos are going to get way more shares and comments and likes and stuff like that. So if you have it in you, do it, go for it, but
I don't know. You teaching everybody how to peel bananas went over really well.
So my TikTok is where I experiment a little bit more with stuff that I don't quite want to put on. And so I did do a video on which end of the banana do you peel? And so, yeah, Kristen really likes that. She dwells on my peeling a banana video.
I love it. And are you using YouTube at all? Is that one of your avenues?
It's been a goal of mine for 2023 that I have failed miserably at. And it's such a good, there's like Ken Pozek, Dan Parker here in San Diego, who literally just popped up on my phone. He texted me or something. And they all crush YouTube, right? Like they have great YouTube channels. Bern McGovern here in San Diego. I not so much. So a lot of my YouTube shorts are just repurposed short form content from Instagram, and those do well, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like they all get like 2,000, 3,000 views but no engagement. I'm still not sure. I know that I should be there. YouTube long form, which is where I think if you were starting today, I'd say build businesses on YouTube long form, specifically about your, moving to San Diego. Again, you can go best 3 restaurants, stuff like that, just stuff that people would search on Google for. You could get a lot of traction on YouTube, but no, that has been my biggest failure of 2023 is my YouTube channel growth consistency. Because that's the other thing is with YouTube, you almost like have to have a video every single week because the algorithm rewards consistency. But it's a little bit of a different skill set. You almost want to plan your ideas about what people are searching for versus what you think is educational or funny. And then lastly, there's like a whole science behind it of getting like the thumbnail right and stuff like that I just have not. I want to layer that in, but I think what might happen before I take part in that is I get someone to do that for me and I just show up and film it, and then I let someone take over the rest of it, because that's very time consuming to build it out correctly, and I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us.
You have to have a call to action on YouTube, right? You have to have a link somewhere to like your Calendly or your buyer's guide for you to really even get the traction you want there. There's not as much, I don't know, like a community. Like there's so many comments and engagement and stuff like I get from Instagram and TikTok where I can connect with the people. There's no like DMs or anything on YouTube.
They can comment on the video and then you can get into it. The one way I use YouTube is I use YouTube pre-roll ads more so than any other thing. So I don't use a ton of call to action ads, so to speak, on Instagram and Facebook, but I do use YouTube pre-roll ads to distribute the content that I do. So like tomorrow, I'll have a listing video coming out for this beautiful home up in Carlsbad. And I did it. I think it's extremely creative, but I've never quite seen it this way before. But I actually had the sellers on camera kind of talking about what they love about the home. So it's got, but then, so the wife is kind of like reminiscing about the home. She's like, yeah, we brought our son Easton home. They grew up here. We threw parties here. I love the open floor plan kitchen. And so then the videographer cuts and shows the open floor plan kitchen as she's explaining what they love about the home. And so I've never quite had the sellers involved in a listing video before. I think it's going to be really, really good. And so what I'll do is when I get that video back, I'm putting it onto YouTube and then running YouTube pre-roll ads across that entire neighborhood, really probably all across North County coastal. So that'll go to Del Mar, Carlsbad, Rancho Santa Fe, all those kind of North County, like really expensive areas. A, to get exposure for the listing, but then also B, to get exposure for myself, because I think that'll be a great video. We'll see how that turns out. But YouTube pre-roll ads are the distribution channel that I do focus on with YouTube.
So what's your team doing mostly for leads then? Like, do you guys cold call, door knock, print marketing? What's your main source?
Our main source is, we work with a company called Curator, and they're a marketing company, CEO'd by Jimmy Mackin, founded by Chris Smith and Jimmy Mackin. So they are a website platform, and then they handle your marketing and ad spend on the back end. So they'll do Google pay-per-click and Facebook lead ads, but they run the ad, and then the lead goes into the CRM and gets like an action plan put on it, and then they actually have like an ISA that screens out the leads. And then when the lead's ready to talk, they ping me, or my team and say, hey, we spoke to Bill today. He's thinking about selling this place. Follow up at 11 o'clock on Wednesday to schedule an appointment. So Curator Attract, which is what the program is called, handles the lead gen, but what they do is Google pay-per-click and Facebook lead ads to get the leads in. We also spend a couple $1,000s a month on Zillow. Those leads go directly to Amanda on my team because she's my longest tenured best closer. And so that's co-sponsored with a lender. So they spend half, we spend half. And then the leads that come in through that go get pre-qualified with them. And then we also do a smaller geographic farm, which I would love to grow that a little bit. But for listings, both in and around listings that we get, but also in a specific geographic neighborhood. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach for lead gen. But again, like 80% of my business has come from agent to agent referrals and or past client and Sphere referrals at this point. So all of those online leads go to my team now. And so except, unless a random listing lead comes in, I'll take that. But most of the time, the buyer leads that are generated from all those go to my team.
I'm glad you're bringing up the Google online leads and all that, because I use a similar system like that in Canada. They're called Agent Locator. I'm spending about $500 a month for the Google clicks and the Facebook clicks that they run for me, and it goes right to my CRM. I'm loving the outcome I'm getting, but I don't think I'm spending enough. What do you think people should be spending on that every month?
Man, that is such a personalized question. I don't know. I've always thought, and I don't know if this is right or wrong. I think I read this somewhere, maybe it was Tom Ferry years ago, that if you're on the conservative side, you're going to spend about 10% of your GCI on marketing back into your business, right? From the previous year, so to speak. So if you make $100,000 in GCI, you're going to spend about $10,000 a year on your marketing throughout the year. So now, divide that by 12, it's $900, $800 a month or whatever. I think on the conservatives, just for me, that's the conservative side. So maybe that's in your first couple of years as you're really trying to grow, put more into marketing. You may want to go up to 20% or 25%, right? Now 25% might be astronomical for some people. So maybe the answer is somewhere between there. But that's an easy way to not only do bookkeeping, but to figure out, okay, and then you spread that across your avenues, right? So if I did $100,000 in GCI, I've got $10,000 a year to play with. That's, someone do the math, that's like $800 a month, give or take. So it's like maybe I spend $500 on a geographic farm, and then $300 on online leads, and $300 on a client or something. So you break that down each month and you figure that out. So 10%.
Yeah, because I used to only spend like $100 a month and I got nothing, but I noticed when I increased it, like it really actually does work. And I just always was convinced it didn't work. So
yeah, and it depends on so like with Zillow, for example, right? Zillow, the average lead in Zillow is about $400 here in San Diego. So like, yeah, if you're spending $500 a month, you're only getting one lead a month. It's not enough. Like you have to spend like a minimum amount at a certain point, because all of these online leads especially are just such a numbers game that you have to make it sure that it's like enough to be worth it. But yeah, 10% I would say. But then it's like Richard just said, there's a law of diminishing returns here. Like if I do $1 million in GCI, and you know what I mean, and I'm at 25% still, that's $250K, that's $20,000 a month. At a certain point, that's too much too. So like maybe then you scale it back to 10% too. You'll find out what works for you. And because again, with if you're making $1 million in GCI, that's a lot of business. Now you probably have a ton of past clients and agent to agent referrals at that point, because you have a big team. So it's like those leads don't cost any money. So now you may actually be scaling down back to 5% of your GCI at that point, because you're now at a point 10 years in where you don't have to spend as much money on your marketing, especially if you don't have a team. Like I have a team to like feed, so to speak. If I didn't have a team, I almost wouldn't spend anything on leads, I guess,
Great. Well, we're getting like the 45-minute mark here, which we try and keep these short. We could probably learn from you all day. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask Jason as we're exiting out of here?
I do. Why doesn't
Kristen?
Jason take 2 seconds to tell us about how great Real Broker is and why he brought his team over?
Smooth, shameless plug. Other than the fact that you have the logo mirrored on here, which means that it's basically a 69 inside brackets, smooth. Which is my favorite thing about it. Ultimately, I've told this story a few times. I was at Compass for 4 years. after coming from my indie brokerage, and in 2021 we had our best year. And we paid over like 200 grand in split, right? And so like, cause it Compass, we were on like an 85-15 split. It was 92-8, but then there's a franchise fee, yada, yada. So we paid over 200 grand, and I was like, holy shit, like that's too much money to like be giving to my brokerage for what they're getting back. And so we were looking at the other options at the time. For us, it was really just Real Broker. There was a lot of like kind of creators that were in our ecosystem, right? The Katie Days of the world, Brad McCullums, that I knew from the Tom Ferry ecosystem and just other places that had made the move. And so I wanted to get into that environment. I wanted to be around them. I knew that I didn't need the things that a traditional brokerage offers, right? The marketing assistance and all that type of stuff, because I already had all that kind of piecemealed in third party. I already had Curator taking care of my website. I already had, all the stuff that Compass offered, so to speak. So basically, it was a monetary decision that made me look into this direction. And then when I made the decision to look into this direction, Real was the answer for me. Because I liked what they offered. I really liked the culture. I liked the people that were in the ecosystem already. And so it became it became the choice, so to speak. And so now we're 10 months in, and we have gotten to partner with awesome agents like Kristen, like around the country. And so I'm more convinced now than I was 10 years ago. Cause like when you go on, embark on a new thing, especially on a company that's fairly new, a little bit risky, a little bit, unsure. And so I was like, hoping, fingers crossed, that it was the right decision. And so I think it was at this point. We're 10 months in, so who knows? Maybe everything changes in 2 months, but I think it's safe to say it was a good decision.
I think we're all pretty happy.
Now, that being
How did
said,
you get-
I think there's other brokerages that are great too. I don't know. I feel like there's like shitty agents at every brokerage and great agents at every brokerage. And so ultimately you just need to get into an ecosystem where you feel encouraged to go to work, right? And like excited and encouraged to get up and do the stuff that you need to do because you could be successful at a random indie brokerage and you can be successful at Compass. It's all the same. But at a certain point, it's about the environment that you put yourself in to make sure that you stay focused and stay sharp.
Yeah. Jared, you got a question?
Sure. So you've done a whole bunch of different ad spends and stuff like that. If you were starting out as, again, kind of more on the solo side, where would you kind of focus the ad spend to get the best return?
So you said if I was starting out on the Zillow side? Or do you just mean like the online
If you
portal
were
side?
starting out again, like if you were solo, not necessarily Zillow, but
Yeah, I think
where would,
I think if I was starting out solo, I would, let's just say it's like a $2,000 budget per month or something, enough to like to warrant online spend. I would probably take a month or so to learn Google pay-per-click. I think those are probably cost analysis, the best leads, because those are still people typing in the right keywords. Whereas Facebook, you're just finding people online that clicked your ad, but maybe weren't looking for real estate. Google pay-per-click, those people still typed moving to San Diego, living in, sell my house fast, whatever the keywords are. And so you can get like 10 of those leads for every Zillow lead, even though Zillow is the best lead in the sense of like they're furthest down the funnel. Google pay-per-click is next and it's not that far behind. So to get 10 leads for the price of one, I think that's probably the best route for online lead generation. I asked that same exact question to Tom Ferry in our refer group, and he said realtor.com would be the best way because you can get usually 3 or 4 leads per the cost of one Zillow lead. And because of how much of a numbers game it is, like if you're spending $2,000 on realtor.com in a specific zip code or specific area, you're probably going to get a deal or two in that first or second month, which is going to start to then it'll pay for itself. Whereas Zillow, if you only have a couple grand, you might take 3 or 4 months to get a lead, and who knows if the variance goes off in it. Like last year, 2022. Everybody who built their business on Zillow was crushed because from May to December in America here, there was nobody getting online leads because our rates went from 3 to 7% overnight. And so all of those teams that were built on Flex, I think I was talking to their input cut in like half. And so because no one at 7% wanted to go get interest rates anymore. So no buyers were actively looking. So I think that something where you can get more leads that are still targeted leads. So Google pay-per-click is probably the best place that I would spend it. to be honest. I mean, obviously that's also parlayed with like doing open houses in your geographic farm every Saturday for, you know what I mean? As many as you can. So you start to get like brand recognition in your geographic farm, pick a neighborhood that has like 300 to 500 homes in it, start to do open houses. So your signage is in there, start to mail the entire neighborhood at least once a month with a distinct URL to where that they can go and watch a video that you shot with a market update or something like that. It's like, hey, visit www.solden92101.com. And then on that landing page, you've got like a video there that's like, hey, thanks for visiting the landing page. Here's our market update for 92101. And then it's like you can geographically farm that neighborhood. You can target ads to your Google pay-per-click in that neighborhood. And then you could even do a YouTube pre-roll ad of a 3 secret gems to 92101 in that neighborhood. And now you've gotten to get like that omnipresent type thing. But you got to build that in layers if you're just starting out, because you know that could be expensive to target at all.
And real quickly, if you could describe your business as one chess piece, what would it be?
The queen.
Yeah.
You got to be able to go everywhere at once, right?
Yeah, I could see that. He's really good at chess. We're 0 for 5 now in chess.
Actually, that was
Sean-
supposed to be our final question. We were going to say, what's your secret to absolutely crushing Sean at chess?
Sean's getting better, I think. Sean has taken me to the end game a couple times, but I think ultimately there's always like a blunder I can capitalize on, which is for a under 1,000 rated player. Sean is on the upper tier of that what we would call the beginner player.
You're making me blush.
Good job, Sean. Keep it up.
Thanks, buddy. All right. Well, thanks a lot, man. That was awesome. I could ask you questions all day, but I know you got things to do.
Yeah, no worries. Feel free. If anybody's watching the call and you guys don't follow me on Instagram, go follow me. You can shoot me a DM there. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time. I hope your bathroom dries up quickly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, if you missed the beginning of the call, I'm in an Airbnb because our bathroom's flooded at our house. And so last night I got to pack up the 2 kids and my wife, and we went and came to an Airbnb at like 10 o'clock at night. And we're going to be here for a week.
The best.
Because they had Richard as a gassy, clogged their toilet.
Maybe.
Richard,
All
you're
right.
going to pull
Have
a
a great day,
muscle roll in
everybody.
your eyes.
Bye guys. Thanks so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks, Jason.
For sure. Bye.
Bye.
Oh. Hey. Oh, sorry, I'm still on it. That was good, eh, guys?